We have here a 2005 Chrysler Town Country with the big 3.8 in it, and it's got a Chrysler 604 transmission in it, or 41TE as they're called. I have a ton of experience in transmission stuff because I started my career in a transmission shop, and I worked in that industry for a good 26 years probably. I never really did the math before. I'm not exactly sure. So I know these transmissions really well, and I think it'd be good information to share. I have scanned this already, but I'll show you what codes it has, and we'll go road test it, see if we can duplicate the issue. Oh, my customer did have O'Reilly scan this and got a solenoid trouble code, so they bought a solenoid body and replaced it, and that did not fix the problem. So he brought it to me. This vehicle has been wrecked and reassembled. As you can see, the fender is a slightly different color. Let's go take a look, and we'll take a look at the trouble codes. This fender here is a different color. Hubcap's missing, and I know the transmission computer's up in there. That may relate to the wreck, but this thing was fixed well over 2 months ago, I believe. A new door here also. Looks like it was done rather nicely. It fits okay. It's not all jacked up or crooked or anything. The hood wasn't replaced. The bumper cover wasn't replaced. Let's get some trouble codes out of here. Now we do want to scan the transmission computer, not the engine computer, and I've already done that, but see there it says transmission, and we'll check the codes. And battery was disconnected. Maybe my customer tried to clear codes that way, and it has a P0755 for 2.4 solenoid circuit error. Since he's replaced the solenoid body already, there's a good chance it's in the wiring, maybe related to the wreck, maybe not. But we'll at least take a look and see how his installation is. Well, there it is down there. We have taken this Town & Country for a test drive, and we could not get the codes to reoccur. When the codes reoccur, it goes to limp in. That's part of the customer's complaint, that it sticks in one gear. And we test drove it for about 30 minutes, and it did not go to limp in, nor did the codes trigger at all. We kind of postponed testing because we knew it was going to be kind of an intermittent. Next day we drove it some, and after driving it 20 minutes or so, the code did reoccur one time. Okay, we are finally getting back to this Chrysler Town & Country. We had some trouble getting the codes to reoccur, did some repeated test drives, but now we're going to proceed with the diagnosis by running the output test for the 2.4 solenoid that we have a trouble code for, and we're going to go down to functional tests, ATM tests, and we're going to run the test for the 2.4 solenoid. It says park brake must be set. Step on that, and then pretty sure the brake has to be on, and pretty sure it has to be in drive. So hit continue. And then we're going to select the data we want here, which would be the pressure switch for the 2.4 solenoid. And that way we can see the solenoid working when this on this pressure switch parameter when it turns on. We hit no. That gives us just the one data parameter, and it says closed. And we turn the solenoid on here. It says on, but it didn't change the state here. Don't understand why. Maybe the test didn't run. I didn't hear the solenoid buzzing or clicking or anything. I don't know why that's happening. Maybe it triggered a trouble code already, and so it won't run. No, there's no trouble code. But functional tests, ATM test. Try it again. Park rake is set. Continue. This time we'll pull up all the pressure switches, see what state they're in. There's the overdrive pressure switch, 2-4 pressure switch, and low and reverse pressure switch. And all of them are closed. I think I'm in drive right now, so I should be in low gear, so I think the low and reverse pressure switch should be on. Let me put it in reverse. Low and reverse pressure switch didn't change state. Neutral. Huh. Switches should be changing state. Unless I'm in limp mode. If you're in limp mode, none of the solenoids get power. The solenoids and those pressure switches are powered from a ETAX relay. ETAX meaning E-T-A-X, A-X. And the ETAX relay is very similar to a ASD relay on the engine, so it's very important that it be on. But if the ETAX relay is off, for instance, like when you're in limp mode due to a trouble code, then none of these can show a signal because they have no power to them. So I am in park. So let's see. God, you'd think I'd have a trouble code if I was in limp mode, though. Still no trouble code. Let's check our there's a parameter on here for limp mode. So we go down here. Limp mode, yes. But no trouble code. That's strange. Maybe we need to drive it to get the trouble code to trigger. Maybe it goes into limp mode, but it doesn't trigger the trouble code until you drive it a bit. That's a unique strategy. I can't say I've saw that a lot, but I think that must be what we have going on here. I'm going to take it for a quick spin and see what trouble codes trigger. But obviously it's saying limp mode. That means the ETAX relay is off. That means these pressure switches have no power to them, so of course they're going to stay closed because they can't. So I'll go drive it, see if it's actually in limp mode. The reason I assumed it wasn't in limp mode is because we had a real hard time getting it to go to limp mode when we drove it the other day. Of course, intermittent problems make for difficult diagnosis. That's just what we have to deal with on a daily basis. So as I drive it, the check engine light did come on and it did trigger some trouble codes. P0750 low reverse solenoid circuit error and P0755 2-4 solenoid circuit error. Don't know why the low reverse code wasn't there before, but it wasn't, and I guess we have further diagnosis to do here. Okay, I've taken the wheel and the inner fender liner out, and the computer is up in here. See there, it has a warranty sticker on it. That may mean it's an aftermarket computer. Don't know. Or maybe it's a Chrysler replacement computer. Earlier in the video I probably used the term transmission computer and engine computer. This is integrated transmission computer and engine computer together, called a power train control module. The earlier cars had a separate one, so forgive my terminology discrepancy earlier in the video, but this is a power train control module with the engine computer and transmission computer built in together. I didn't see any problems with the inner fender liner. It was in there and good, and despite the fact that this is in the area of the wheel, I don't think there's any splash going on it. The inner fender liner was in good shape. Obviously they either replaced it during the wreck or it wasn't damaged, but I don't really see any problems with the harness. I've already taken a good look here, and you can see there the harness goes from the computer there over towards the transmission solenoid body, and there's the new solenoid body. You can see the term Borg Warner on it. Maybe you can't see it, but I can here in the video. And it seems to be installed properly. I don't see any physical damage with regards to like rubbing or contacting anything. This sharp edge right here doesn't show any damage. So I don't really think there was anything going on with the wreck. We did have some problems with Chrysler replacement computers back when they were separate from the engine computer. We had a whole string of bad computers. The computers would fail and then we would replace them with new Chrysler ones, and then they would have a problem too. So that was kind of a problem. So it makes me a little bit suspect of this computer. But we need to eliminate the possibility of there being any wiring problems or a connection problem with the connector there or pin drag at the computer here. So we'll print a schematic and find the wires, do some amp testing, and go from there. Well, unfortunately, I may not have a good video here after all, because when I started doing some visual inspection here, I took a quick pull on that and it is not latched. So I assume the latch may be broken or maybe it just didn't seat it, but I literally just took my finger and pushed out gently like that and it come unplugged. So if I can get that to latch correctly, that's more than likely going to solve their problem, and it's going to be a lot less technical video. Well, I got a few tools and I'm going to head down to the local pick and pull to try and find that connector. Okay, we're here at the local pick and pull. They're doing a brisk business today. I don't know whether they have a half-off sale this weekend or not, but it's a little bit rainy. As you can see, the ground is quite wet. I hope I don't have to lay underneath the vehicle. I'm hoping to find one that has the inner fender out, or maybe the fender's off, and maybe the computer already out, so I can just cut the connector off and go. Sure would be nice if I don't have to lay on the ground. Here's one. It's wrecked right here. And the cosmetic cover is broken on the connector I need. So I don't know if there's any other damage. Seems to hold. I think I'll look for another one that didn't have a strike right here. Maybe have a better chance of getting a good one. What a mess. Ooh, it's a 05 Dodge Caravan. Ooh, front end parts are off of it. Yeah, I think that's going to be our donor right there. Well, I've made an attempt to depin this connector. I was going to try and depin it and put these wires in the other connector, but I'm worried that I'll break the other connector, and so I've just decided to go ahead and solder it in. Okay, here is wire number one with our solder heat shrink connector and a heat gun. And the heat gun's blowing on it there. And you can see the solder is starting to melt. And right there's what the connector looks like. Now multiply that by about 30 wires and then we'll be done. I'm getting almost done here, and I wanted to make a comment with regards to my method. I did the ones inside this small harness first, just to eliminate that, and those wire colors were very obvious. And then I did you do the most obvious wire colors first, because there are some of these three right here that the wire colors, they're all green and they do have a trace color, but the trace color over time fades and you can't really tell. I do the ones that are obvious first, and then the last ones, after you, if you're not sure about the wire colors, well, on these I'm not, because some of these, the trace is light blue or gray, or maybe light violet, and I really struggle to tell them apart. So what I do is after I cut it, I strip it, and then I ohm check it to here to know it's the exact right one that matches this one. And of course you have to cut and strip this one also and ohm check it to there to make sure that you get the right one. And there we go. Pretty nice repair. All the wires are the right length. When you do something like this with this many wires, you want to stagger where you connect them at. If you cut them all at the same spot and soldered them together there, you'd have a big bulky thing to cover there. And so I stagger 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And that makes a nice repair that you can cover easily with the original loom. You don't have to have this big pregnant section there. I did cut this off on the parts on the car down at Pick and Pull. I wish I'd have realized it, but I could have just unplugged it up there and that would have saved me some time. But I didn't look closely and I cut it off, so now I have to solder that in. And there's the last part done with the connector on there. I'll wrap this up with some tape and I'll have a good repair. We're going to go in and clear the codes before we test drive this Town and Country. The scanner will work. Now, because earlier the thing would go into limp mode or failsafe before triggering a trouble code and wouldn't actually trigger the trouble code until you drove the car, I'm going to actually go in and see if it shows failsafe or limp mode right now. Our pressure switches are showing open, so that's a good sign, and limp mode shows no. So we're definitely looks like it's fixed. We'll go on a test drive and follow up after the test drive. Well, before I go drive this, I should probably do a relearn on the CVIs. CVI stands for Clutch Volume Index, and that's basically just an expression of the amount of time it takes to fill a clutch pack. And that is adaptive on this transmission. The transmission adapts to wear in the transmission in various conditions. And so since the solenoid body was changed, I don't know if this problem that we were experiencing would actually change the CVIs, but since the solenoid body was changed, we should definitely relearn the CVIs for that. So we would go to functional tests and then go down here to quick learn. But I think I want to show you the CVIs first. There's the CVI display, and it'll show us what they are. Low inverse clutch is 50, overdrive clutch is 123, 2/4 clutch is 44, and the underdrive clutch 52. So we'll see how much those change once we actually do the CVI, the quick learn. And what this does, it says prior to running, start engine, shift into overdrive, move vehicle at least 5 feet, shift into park, apply park and brake, and let engine idle. I've already done all that, so I'm just going to sit here with my foot on the brake and park. I hit continue, do not release brake pedal, and shift transmission into neutral. So there I go into neutral, and then it says shift transmission into drive, and so I put it into drive. And I don't know if you can hear that, but you could kind of see the tach doing stuff. But consecutively, it applies each clutch pack in order and measures the amount of time it takes for them to apply. And over here it says quick learn test complete, shift transmission into park, okay to release brake. And so we will go back to our CVI display. And we'll see the numbers changed a little bit. 48, 115, 46, and 40. Not a big change on some of them, but obviously it relearns the characteristics of the solenoid body. It relearns the characteristics of the clutch packs. If there's any wear or slow acting solenoid and stuff like that, it'll compensate for it. But that relearn needs to be done anytime you do a transmission change or a solenoid body change. Sometimes when the transmission's low on fluid, it'll adapt to that. So if you fix a leak and fill it back up, then you need to run the CVI display for that. If these are off, sometimes you'll get a coast down clunk as you're coming to a stop. It'll clunk. Like I said, for this specific repair, I don't think that was needed, but the customer did change the solenoid body, so I thought we'd show that anyway. I have a lot of information on the 604 or the 41 TE transmission, and all that information applies to the 606 that come in the Intrepids, and it even applies to some of the Dodge trucks, 45 RFE transmission, and so that's good diagnostic information, and maybe someday I'll do a full breakdown of the diagnostic method and the common problems that they have on a 604 transmission. But for now, this car's fixed and this customer needs their vehicle. Lighting in here is terrible, but I don't have any choice. It's a rainy, dingy day. The diagnosis on this Town & Country wasn't difficult except for the fact that the problem was intermittent at first. Luckily, by the time I actually did the diagnosis, the problem was fairly consistent, but I was hoping to do an in-depth diagnosis with a lap scope and amp checking solenoids and voltage checking solenoids, and but none of that came to be because the simple visual inspection was good enough to diagnose this car. The connector was unplugged. Replacing the connector fixed the problem. So it's not a super high-tech video, but I thought there's valuable information there. If you learned anything from this video, click like and subscribe. And if you want to contribute to the continued production of these videos, visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com and find the donate button.